space is very much important to me. Where you actually see things, where you place things, and the viewer is very, very important to me, because in some ways it's your first contact with an artwork. It's your first contact with the piece. So for me, I'm very specific about how I want things to be seen, and sound, and how you journey from one artwork to the next, and how maybe you come back on it, the route, the geography. So here at the HangarBicocca was a bit of a dream in a way. It's the size of about 3 football pitches. So in some ways, it's at first it's a bit of a sort of a daunting task as such. But for me, it was one of those things where I was very much engaged with, because I love the idea of journey. I love the idea of engagement with one work and going to the next work and route. So it was really kind of wonderful to work. And also with Sunshine State, of course, within that space was great as well, sort of going from relationships from one work to the next work. I just love the configuration of the works and the narrative. Narratives it presents, from coming into Static with the Statue of Liberty, then moving on to Cold Breath and Charlotte, the whole idea of a certain kind of focus, a certain kinds of intensity, then moving on to Sunshine State, which again is a narrative within itself. But seen from a distance, again, it has relationship to other works. And again, Moonlit, the sort of gravitational pull, the whole idea of a certain kind of asteroid, or sort of how an end can actually be a beginning. And of course, with Carib's Leap and that narrative, and of course, outside the HangarBicocca as well, is the documentary element of Carib's Leap. And then you go further in to Western Deep, which is this gold mine just outside Johannesburg. So this narrative, this sort of journey was about a story, and a story I imagine that each individual viewer can actually make themselves. Sunshine State, the newest work in the show, is something I was mulling over for a long time. I didn't have the exact concept yet, obviously, but I wanted to work with the film The Jazz Singer, which was made in 1927, starring Al Johnson. Actually, it was the first talkie, the first speaking film. And I wanted to play with the imagery in that, maybe for about even over 16 years, but I didn't have the full scope of what I was trying to do with it until recently, when I got the rights to sort of work with the material. It has something to do with sort of the present and the past, and how much the past can sort of infiltrate the present. The context of it, in some ways, is very much, obviously, about a story my father told me just before he passed away. And I just wanted to sort of amalgamate that story with those images, which I wanted to manipulate. So for me, that was the sort of the nucleus at a certain point when I thought, okay, well, I could do this now, and also getting the rights. Well, when I was going to shoot in the gold mine in Western Deep, I wanted something which was sort of which actually fit the terrain in a way. I needed something which was mobile. So a Super 8 camera is a very small, compact camera. I wanted it on film because I wanted the grain to sort of illustrate the texture of the environment. So for me, it was very important that it was a situation which was the form of the actual tool which was going to make the work was perfect for that space, and it happened to be Super 8 camera. So again, it's almost like having a chisel and a mallet cutting away at a sculpture. For me, it was a Super 8 camera and doing that work, hoping to translate it to the viewer. making artwork for me is like poetry in a way. You could see it as poetry. I don't necessarily see it like that, but one can see it as poetry, and the feature films as the novel, as narrative. You know, the poetry is much more sort of meta, is fractured, is concise and precise. Within a paragraph, you have the world, and as far as the novel is concerned, novels is the yarn. You know, it's once upon a time, and the end is a sort of a linear journey with that, rather than an abstracted one, as in poetry. The work has a bigger remit. You know, it goes beyond the frame of the work, and what I mean by that is almost like a pebble you throw in a pond. You throw it in a pond, and where it lands, it's more about the echoes of what happens than what actually how it hits the water. So I feel that also often you can live with an artwork for the rest of your life, because it sort of brings into your orbit something more than what you're seeing. What you're seeing is a trigger for something more than anything else. What you're looking at is a trigger. You know, sometimes you see something which you feel you know, and then you look closer and it's something completely different. So that's why I'm interested in the unrecognizable and the familiar, or the familiar and the unrecognizable. You double take, you look again.